Like telltale heart. Boom, boom.
We're on. Are we on?
It looks like we are. I see the
I,
live thing.
okay. Yeah, we are live. Oh, great, great. Hello, comrades, camaraden,
Yeah.
um, fellow beautiful people. I am once again Jason Justice. I've never changed. I'm still Jason Justice from the last time. Member of the Denver Green Party. And of course, to your right and my right as well is Dr. Desmond Wallington. Doctor, it hurts when I do this, so
Oh yeah. Stop doing it.
don't
Um,
do that.
I think I'm to your left politically. I don't know.
Uh,
You're to my right. I don't
oh
know.
my, oh no, oh
We're not
no.
gonna have that. Okay, we're not
Oh,
doing it.
we're not doing
Okay.
that. I'm in
Okay.
the middle of doing a book study on Das Kapital right now. So
Okay.
yeah,
So
so
you are to my left right now.
yeah.
Okay, I'll take that.
All right, all right.
So welcome, and I'm actually got like actual audio this week. Last week or last couple weeks ago, it was a very dicey situation where I was trying to join and had technical problems. So
Well,
audio is working. Yay!
yeah, I thought you could have stayed on the stream without the audio, just as our spokesmodel, and you could have done things like this. But we'll coordinate it better next time.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, lots of beautiful. Once again, in the heart of neoliberal town, Denver, Colorado, plenty of wonderful things to talk about. Plenty of what I like to call political fuckery going on as per normal in Denver.
It's the
We are.
gift that keeps on giving.
It is. It is truly the gift that keeps on giving. Capitalism is such a beautiful thing that I'm not saying this because I'm reading Das Kapital right now again, but you know, um, it commodifies us as workers and throws us under the bus. It even commodifies people who are houseless, and it commodifies our prisoners in the system. And the man's going to get his money one way or another, and so it's just we like to stay on top of this stuff. We are going to have good news, I swear. It's coming. It's just not today.
Wah wah. No whammy, no whammy, whammy. God damn it, every time.
so speaking of beautiful things happening in politics, the Denver City Council voted this week to give $17 million to approve $17 million in contracts for Parks and Rec. And this $17 million is going to 17, and I don't know if it's different landscapers in town. It may be multiple contracts to one. That was not clear. I looked for that information. I'll continue to search for it. We will get the answer. But 17 million in contracts, and the president of the city council is someone named Stacy Gilmore, and she's great. She loves charter schools. That'll tell you a little bit about her. She is married to a guy named Scott Gilmore. And Scott Gilmore is the director of Parks and Rec in Denver. And so during the Zoom call for the city council meeting, um, uh, she dropped off the call, and the pro tem, Jamie Torres, stepped in to conduct the discussion over the contracts. But when it came time to vote, Ms. Gilmore, I should say, Council President Gilmore reappeared and voted yes on all the contracts. This is, you know, when there's a vote that's happening in an organization that your spouse runs, I I think probably the thing to do is to not vote. right? It is,
If I remember my dear Heloise right, that's the thing you're
yeah,
supposed to do, right?
yeah. You're supposed to recuse yourself. I recuse myself because it'll look like complete fuckery. What? There's that word. Anyway.
You know, you're supposed to at least kind of like humor us that there's going to be some sort of propriety going on,
Right,
right?
right, right. When I decide to say that word, I will go. Okay, so that's the sign,
Yeah, yeah.
fuckery. So she didn't recuse herself, and this for elected officials in Colorado. This is just par for the course. And when you do recuse yourself, as our fearless leader of the Denver chapter of the Green Party, the Honorable Andrea Merida, when she was on the school board, if there was a perceived conflict of interest, she would recuse herself, and that's just what people with ethics do. So anyway, so that's only one. So these contracts are, and let me grab this article and I will stick it down in the chat. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, so I'll put it down in the
Very
chat.
dramatic.
I will stick it down in the chat. Okay, here it is. Um, and there you go. There's a link to that article. So they question the Parks and Rec about the contracts, but they don't really want to, dive deep. Two people did stand up against the contracts, which is kind of interesting, and that was let's see. Chris Hines did, who represents my part of town. And let's see, who else voted no? Someone else did.
Candy.
No, Candy voted
Oh,
yes on them.
oh wow.
Yeah.
Surprise.
So yeah, we've got a city council person named with the last name of Sawyer. I'm not sure what their first name is, but yeah, they voted no. So it was a 13-2 vote on yes. And this is a problem. Like even in DPS, um, the superintendent has the leeway to spend up to
Oh,
$999,000 and 99 cents. If he wants to spend over $1 million, he has to get it approved by the Board of Education. And so this is a problem. This is our money, and she the one of the problems they say with Parks and Recs has been lack of transparency about stuff. The Department of Transportation infrastructure gives them like a quarterly update, so they're like the most transparent organization in city government, whereas Parks and Rec, who's actually run by the Honorable Happy Haynes. I'm not sure if she goes by that, or I think she was a state senator as well, but she was also a school board member.
I always think of it sounds like an underwear brand.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But she's not a giant fan of transparency. Anyway, I digress. So check out this article about it. This is our money, and we need them to be a little bit more, put a little more scrutiny into these departments that are not being transparent about the way they spend their money. And yeah, I know that it's getting into the weeds and into the minutia, and it's very it's difficult to follow all of this stuff. But your city council member makes $100,000 a year, so for that amount of money, to me, that's a lot of money. And so if you're making that kind of money, then maybe you ought to burn the midnight oil a little bit and read into some of this stuff. Plus, you have staff that can help you do that. Anyway, um, one of the things the city council did um, a few years ago, this is also in the article that we posted, is that they decided not to use for-profit prison companies like the Geo Group and things like that, for detaining people or in the city and county of Denver, but they just had hired a company that that's going to do the ankle bracelet monitoring, and they are a subsidiary of the Geo Group. And
Hmm.
so yeah, so it's home monitoring. That's when you get an ankle bracelet on, right?
Yeah, yeah,
For anybody that's never had that, good for you. And so that you should read into that a little bit. The for-profit prison industry is absolutely, I don't know, just we
gross.
know, yeah, it's disgusting. Um,
Yeah, it's.
okay, we got a spam
It,
comment. Oh, okay,
oh, I know. It's very exciting about radioactive places.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. That's okay. That's something. People hear Green Party and they just want to talk about like the environment, which we're all about. But then we do kind of look at things beyond that sometimes, right?
Folks, you should go to denvergreenparty.org and check out our platform. The you should check out the 10 key values that we support as the Green Party. You will find that in Colorado we are we have voted to become an eco-socialist party, and so go there and check it out. I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining eco-socialism, but it's there. It's on the Green Party wall. You can go to GPUS, Green Party of the United States, and see all of that kind of stuff there. We definitely are big about environmental things, but we also there's a lot of other stuff as well. Um, let's see. Is there another? All
Oh,
right. Okay.
is there?
Andre
Okay.
messages.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Cool. Cool.
okay. It's happening
Um,
in real time, so we're kind of seeing
oh,
this as
oh,
the camera back.
interesting.
I
Interesting.
know. Yeah.
Trolling. Trolling.
Oh, is it okay? Okay. Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So,
Anywho, on with the show.
yeah, on with the show. Des, we've talked 2 weeks ago about how um, when we do ballot initiatives, how there's something in the city charter, and I'm not sure yet if it's just in the city charter or if it's prescribed by the state legislature, and I'm going to find that out. But they once a ballot initiative has been passed, then you can then what the city council can do and the mayor's office can do is create a commission or a board or an oversight group to look at that initiative that has been passed by the voters. A few years ago, we passed a green roofs initiative, and so they put a working group together to look at it, and the working group filled with developers, they killed it. So there's
Yeah,
no
yeah.
green roof in Denver, even though we voted it in. And now this past
Or, or,
elections,
or they just kind of like water it down, right?
right? They water
Like,
it down,
like
basically. And,
you hear green roofs and you think, oh, there's going to be like a garden, on top of my apartment complex, or there's going to be solar panels somewhere, and then they look, these developers kind of whisper in the ear the city council member like, psh, 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 we can't be doing that bullshit, psh, psh, psh.
right,
And then the thing is like, well, it's just cool if you paint your roof white, that causes the sunlight to kind of reflect off of it, and you're not absorbing all the heat, and that's an energy saver. So they just really kind of water it down and kind of bastardize the intent of the bill, right?
right. And we talked about how they put one of these working groups together for the Park Hill Golf Course, which we just voted to keep a green space. And last week we put the article in the live stream from last week about how this working group was talking about, well, how are we going to develop parts of this property which we voted to keep a green space? We're going to keep some of it green, but we got to, how are we going to develop the rest of it? So it's obviously there's going to be people from West, from different. I'm not going to name a group in case they're not part of it, and I'm libeling someone, but definitely there are definitely going to be developers on there and developer friendly people, and they've kept community out of this process. So check that out from last week. But Des, we were talking the other day about the psilocybin
Yeah.
initiative that you were part of getting passed in Denver.
Yeah. I wrote the party endorsement, helped gather petition signatures, did some, the lettering on the campaign material. Very, very grunt work, right? But anywho, and so that they were maybe purposeful when it came to kind of creating this committee. Or my understanding of it was like they wanted to do this because they really wanted to like do some data collection and kind of and to be able to have maybe a report a year or two after, like, so we decriminalize mushrooms and like the gates of hell didn't open up, and there's not like like people we haven't drifted into like chaos, right? um the psychotic stuff's not happening. So anywho, so part of the thing was just to kind of maybe let's see what's happened, the consequence of this, and the so what. So we've decriminalized, and are there any tweaks or additions we can kind of add to it. So I reached out to Kevin the other day, and he sent me some articles today about the committee's finding, and the guy that ran the campaign, Kevin Matthews, he was the president of the mushroom board. I don't know what they call it. But okay, so one was like, there has been no major increase in arrests related to the distribution of psilocybin mushrooms, and no major cartel elements or organized crime. According to the limited and preliminary university-level observational research for Colorado, most individuals set a positive intention prior to use and reported using psilocybin mushrooms for self-exploration and mental health. So people are like, hey, maybe the psilocybin will help me work through some sort of trauma, and they're not, robbing their grandma, like hopped up on mushrooms, like, that kind of thing. What Richard Nixon would have us believe, right? So number two, there has been no significant negative impacts on public safety as a result of decriminalizing psilocybin possession in the city of Denver. So there, that kind of maybe that element of harm reduction, of people getting behind the wheel and thinking they're driving in Mario Kart, but they're actually in traffic. The city should train first responders to recognize and safely respond to persons undergoing psychedelic crisis. Yeah. Denver police, please don't shoot people, when they're on psilocybin. That's probably a helpful one. The city should produce educational public service announcements to inform the public about safety, responsibility, use, and available risk reduction services. So I think, there's a psychedelic organization called the NOAC Society, and I think they've been taking the realm in that and creating PSAs for people. Cool. The city should create a data collection reporting system for any interactions involving psilocybin for ongoing public safety monitoring. All right. Database. It's maybe a little scary. Worst case. The city should decriminalize or make the lowest law enforcement priority the sharing, gifting of psilocybin without remuneration for money. So, the lowest, to translate that to English, lowest law enforcement priority means that, if a Denver police officer arrests you and for possession or gifting psilocybin, the DA has no access to public funds to persecute you. So they're just like, why the fuck you arrest this guy? I have no money to try this case. So there's that. The city should make the communal use of psilocybin amongst the lowest law enforcement priority. Communal use. So that gets a little interesting, so that could be maybe a secular setting, maybe a religious setting, but some sort of space where people can explore these medicines and have support and guidance or whatever. The city should expand voting panel members to be more representative of Denver's diversity. Because the board was predominantly white vote, right? So maybe more people of color and kind of greater diversity should be seen on this panel. Okay, sure, why not? The city should determine how psilocybin therapy can be applied to address mental health issues in Denver. So that's neat. Maybe you can go to like a mental health center and, a licensed mental health professional can kind of guide you through these experiences, because there are kind of people doing this, but it's very underground. And if you go to an underground therapist, and they like sexually assault you and you're under the influence, there is no like recourse. You can't like report them to their ethics board or whatever, just because, it's off the grid kind of thing. So those were the 9 recommendations. And they were made about, when did this article come out? Oh, okay, early November, late October. And they're caucusing. I like that word, caucusing on these ideas right now, and really trying to kind of figure out how this is going to be executed and what this is going to look like. My understanding from Kevin is like sometimes this is like herding cats and trying to get all these people, scheduled to kind of aligns like getting lightning in a bottle kind of thing. So they're working on kind of reconvening and kind of figuring out of these recommendations. How is this going to be executed? Kind of thing.
Right. So just I have a question for you. Who, other than Kevin, who's part of this group? Are there members of law enforcement, city council, any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, there's like 2 city council people. I've been to a couple of the meetings or seen them. They just kind of sit there, like, you can tell it's a very awkward meeting for them. Like they have to be there. It was kind of like forced upon them as a part of this law that they had to show up. So then they're like, and they just have this deer in the headlights.
Did you suggest that they microdose before they come? That might help them to relax.
Macrodose for sure.
Macrodose.
The less the message you can get a politician with their ego, the better you are. It's just kind of general consensus, right?
Those are doors they don't want to open, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Look at the narcissist never likes to look under the hood. That's for sure. So there's that. I think like the chief of police, there might be. I think there's like a substance abuse therapist or harm reduction person, so there's some sort of kind of behavioral health or medical people on it too. And they've kind of, in some meetings, they get like some dude with fancy letters behind his name to kind of like, oh yeah, this is helpful, we're doing this and research. So giving them a lot of education, on the fly. So, that's been like the cool thing about these kind of meetings, is that they've been really academic and really kind of data driven versus the political fear driven kind of thing. And so it kind of really causes education. That's how we enact, that's what we should be doing with our politicians. So
yep.
There's that.
Yep.
So they'll be looking, kind of getting that convened, and then maybe kind of looking, the hope is that, okay, yeah, I'm remembering this now, like maybe midsummer, these things might go in effect and happen. And right around that time, right now, I think like the Secretary of State or whoever, Jenna Griswold, and et al. Are looking at the petition signature campaign that they've statewide that they want to launch around that same time. Well, March 1st is when they get the results and everything, and then they start gathering petitions, spring, summertime to be on the November ballot. So hopefully this thing happens and that thing happens kind of in tandem with each other and kind of get the wind in the sails and, kind of, and before next, you'll be legally mandated to be growing mushrooms in your basement down there kind of thing.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, right here in the practice dungeon. All right.
Yeah. It's just a matter of time.
It's just a matter of time. I knew it. Big Brother is coming, and he's going to force you to grow psilocybin.
Yeah.
This is such a big deal for mental health. Having in Denver, having this resource available to people. And I'm sure that substance abuse counselors would be, I've definitely heard substance abuse counselors complain about the fact that the marijuana industry in the state is not really regulated all that well. And so you don't know what you're getting. You don't really know, is that 5 milligram edible really 5 milligrams?
Oh, yeah.
And so, but of course, until we have a national referendum on decriminalization of drugs, which, maybe that's the next step in Denver, is decriminalize everything.
Like and Oregon did.
Yeah, Oregon's already done that. Yeah. So, well, and boy howdy, some of those folks up in Oregon, they need it.
Yeah. we're looking at you, Oregon Green Party.
Well, no, I don't want to say that about them. I was thinking more about the neo-Nazis that love to live.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they could.
We got those here in Denver.
We do, and they could chill the fuck out too. Anyway, so this is it's a huge thing, and it was never about, at least in my mind, when we in the Green Party decided to support this ballot initiative or this measure, it was never about the party. It was about, that there's actually clinical benefits that can be drawn for people that suffer from all sorts of mental illnesses or what we're calling them, disabilities, right? So it's a big thing.
And then there's also kind of that element of it too, that like these laws are kind of colonial in nature and criminalizing people's culture, and that people should be able to have access to their traditional medical, medicinal mushrooms, and being able to, not go to jail for practicing your culture. Right. Maybe that should be a thing.
Yeah, but white supremacy and patriarchy, what a great combination.
I know.
Well, anything else about that?
I think I hit all my talking points, and I didn't ramble too badly.
No, you were great. It was great. It was only me being cheeky, jumping in. I want to know who those city council members are, and they need to chill. Yeah. They just need to chill.
Chris Hines was one. I forget who the other one was.
Okay.
I think,
yeah. Chris Hines has a tough district. I know.
I know.
Yeah. The rich people love law and order.
You email him a lot.
I don't bug him very much because he's gonna be like, oh, who the hell is this? Oh, this guy? Yeah, no. So the other thing is that, and it's funny how rich people love law and order unless it comes to them being able to get their buzz on. Bust all the people with cocaine or crack and all of that, but don't bother us because we're just drinking and snorting coke and all of that kind of stuff. So
And
yeah,
it's kind of like humorous too. Like you see these like kind of yuppies kind of come to Colorado and you're like, where do I buy mushrooms at? And I'm like, Whole Foods? Like, no, they're not legal. They're decriminalized, you know, and you kind of have to give them like the nuance between the two things, and it's
well,
exhausting.
maybe they'll turn
Yeah.
around and move the fuck back out. Anyway, so um, there one I was going to throw one last thing up here, and this has to do with, of course, Parks and Rec, which is where
Part two.
part two, part due, and let me get this in there. Mayor Hancock's son has gotten himself a job with Parks and Rec.
It's a small
And
world.
yeah, I know it's kind of hard to imagine. And why this is interesting and significant is that his son's name is Jordan Hancock, and Jordan in 2014 was pulled over.
I just saw like Michael Hancock, Jordan Hancock, Michael Jordan. The thing
Michael
just
Jordan.
it just hit me. Okay, so
He was pulled over in a car in
oh yeah.
2014 that was involved with a shooting. He wasn't part of the shooting. Let's make that very clear. But when they pulled the car over and the cops are asking for everybody's ID, his answer to them is, "Don't you know who my dad is?"
Very indignant.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
those were the best commercials of like that 2019
Oh
reelection
yeah,
campaign
yeah,
when
yeah,
those heaven, I could watch those all day.
yeah. So he's gotten himself a job at Parks and Rec, and Mayor Hancock, of course, did not help him. Did not. That kid, he's
The
a good
merits,
kid.
his own merits.
Yeah, he did. He made it in there on his own, on his under his own steam, and he's doing great and all of that kind of stuff. So and there is also, so if you believe that, that's good for you. You might also be thinking that ivermectin helps cure COVID. So I digress, but no, maybe he did, and good on him for that. There's a 6 month probationary period for new hires in Parks and Rec, and well, in I believe in the city. He's making just over $21 an hour, which is, in Denver, that's not enough to get yourself an apartment, a 1 bedroom apartment, but it's better than most entry level jobs. And so
Minimum wage is $15. So
right, minimum wage is $15, and as I'm sure you've seen, you hear a lot of people complaining that nobody wants to work anymore, and I think what we're seeing is, like, in the restaurant industry and stuff like that. Those people, like, I mean, I worked in the restaurant industry from the time I was in basically high school on up until a few 20 years ago when I stopped. But the thing is that those people are working because you still have to make money and pay your rent and stuff like that. So what I suspect is all of those people that were waiting tables and bartending, they're doing something else. They've got other side hustles that they're doing. There's a lot of jobs.
OnlyFans, there's a lot of I noticed a lot of new OnlyFans accounts opening.
What?
So good for you people. Uh,
Is this where I'm supposed to advertise my
yeah,
OnlyFans
yeah,
page?
yeah.
No,
I,
I'm not
I
going to do that here.
I have an Only Flan page where it's just videos of me eating flan
Oh,
all day. I pull in a good like $500 a week with that. You wouldn't believe.
Oh God. Anyway, so oh, and so that's funny. That's pretty funny. And and now that I think about it, I'm sure that is out there for someone. So
Whatever gets your rocks up. That's
that's
all that
right.
matters. Yeah, no
Gods,
shame. We do
gods of
not
the universe.
we do not kink shame in the Green
No,
Party at
we
all.
don't. We don't.
Um, but yeah, maybe we are seeing though like a general strike, right? Hopefully that's the hope. Like like maybe the socialism idea is kind of caught foot to some degree, and there's a percentage of people who are just like, fuck it, what's the point? I'm not busting my ass and still can't pay rent. You know,
Right.
they do something else.
Yeah, it's the restaurant workers and of course the beautiful UFCW local that just won the strike with King Supers. Um, these are truly frontline workers, and especially during the pandemic. One of the things that I think is really interesting, and I don't have any data in front of me. I know that there have been polls about how people in this country generally feel about lifting mask mandates. And I think that the majority of people still support mask mandates. And because of neoliberalism and capitalism,
Oh, the doggy.
yeah, that, oh, going upstairs. My poor dog, it wants to go upstairs and chase a ball, and of course I'm busy. But capitalism wants us to go back to work and not worry about it. I mean, they're lifting mask mandates in schools. Massachusetts is about to lift theirs. I believe, Denver's obviously has been lifted. Um, and, it's back to work until the next mutation happens. And so be diligent, folks. Keep your masks on, when you can. I know, I mean, I hate wearing the damn things, but I wear them when I go out because you don't know who's got kids who are under the age for vaccinations.
Yeah.
I've got three grandkids that are under the age of 2.5,
Yeah.
and so I know you can't. I know you don't
Yeah.
believe I have grandkids, but I do.
Yeah.
And but how do we protect them? And how it's a really, and we see a lot of uh, left wing media people. Um, uh, I think that probably Max Blumenthal of the Gray Zone is one of the biggest ones out there, who is anti-mask and thinks it's a conspiracy and all of that. And so they go on to Hannity, or they go on to Tucker Carlson's show, or RFK Jr. shows up at the anti-mask event. Um, Let me remind you, the folks out there, that finding common cause with fascists. Um, when was the last time you ever heard one of these talking fascist talking heads find common cause with the left? Never, never.
Mhm.
It's always the left that some person. I'm not going to call them names, but they decide that they want to find common cause with people with the most recalcitrant, bigoted, racist. Um, name your group de jour. Horrible. First strike, nuke them till they glow. Everybody own a gun. All the kids in cages at the border. These are the same people. These are the same people telling you that they're lifting the mask mandates. Are the same people that, and I didn't say this. Somebody that I follow on Twitter did. That these are the same people that bring you things like weapons of mass destruction. That kind of stuff. So be wary. Keep your mask on while you're out there. Uh, you're in the healthcare industry, sir.
I know, yeah, and you can tell like by my that what I've termed maskne, the kind of the fun, kind of side effects this has had on my skin. I still do it.
Right.
You got it's medical situation, of course. You just kind of have to hold your nose and do it, and it's not fun, but whatever. There's bigger inconveniences, out there, kind of thing. So
Yeah, the life you save may not be yours; it may be someone else's, and that's okay. Saving people's lives is okay. It's a
but
it's a
but to
good
get
thing.
okay, so Jason gets really bad about tangents, and I have to kind of rein him in. I think
Oh,
the thing was Jordan Hancock in the gig, right?
Right.
Yeah. So let's
So,
backpedal.
well, I thought maybe that we were probably done,
Oh, okay. Roasted the Hancocks.
kicking that rock. Oh,
Okay.
somebody may be messaging me telling me to shut up.
Okay.
So that's all right. I
All right.
don't think that there's really that I have much more than this. There's I'll put this up here too. There are 3 counties in Colorado that are being looked at for election impropriety, and not necessarily election impropriety, but some election officials in 3 different counties are kind of sharing proprietary information on the voting machines they have there with people who aren't authorized. And the worst one is in Mesa County. You probably all heard about that. Elsa, come here, babe.
No, what's going on? What's that about?
Yeah. So, yeah. Let me pull this up. In Mesa County, the election clerk there turned over. She turned over information that compromised voting equipment, trying to prove conspiracies. And yeah, so this has been in the news quite a bit. And so these 2 other counties, so that's Mesa County, and that's actually been taken over by former Secretary of State. What's their first name? It's Secretary of State Griswold is now in charge of that. Yeah, Jenna Griswold is in charge of that. Yeah, so the other 2 counties are Elbert County, and they just like turned some pictures of giving copies of the election system hard drive to 2 attorneys. And then the latest one, I know this is going to, for those of you that live in the Denver area, you're going to be shocked about the latest county to be added to this that the Secretary of State's looking into is Douglas County.
Oh, boy, yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Poor Douglas County.
They've
been kind of a shit show lately.
Yeah.
So maybe like a part of the problem I think is like around like in Colorado, we're one of the hoity-toity states that have these things called risk limiting audits that we perform, after an election kind of does. And that's kind of like a way to make sure the results are accurate, right? And, so the way that they do that is it's kind of a very scientific method. So, in science, when you do an experiment, you have something called like the null hypothesis. So like my theory is, the null hypothesis is that my results won't be valid and like my hypothesis is wrong. So you're trying to gather data to disprove your hypothesis, and then you kind of weigh out this statistical likelihood that your hypothesis is wrong. Right. So if you can maybe kind of take that methodology and kind of apply it to elections, we run an election and say between me and Jason wins, and good for Jason. But then they run a risk limiting audit between our election, results, and the null hypothesis is that Jason lost and Desmond won. And then so they kind of randomly generate, kind of ballots, and they keep doing that until they can actually prove that, disprove that null hypothesis that I won, and that, you're the actual winner, of the election. So, when you start sharing this information and kind of trying to kind of prove these kind of wild goose chase kind of conspiracy theories, you do kind of put the election, kind of structure at risk because of that, because, it's supposed to be random, and, and all the formulas and everything that go into that.
Cool. That's look at the big brain on Brad.
I know. You can tell I spend a lot of time in election reforms.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm out of stuff to talk about tonight. The I was going to close up with the whole keep your mask on for a little while longer, y'all,
Mm, mm,
till everyone's safe. But
mm.
uh, uh, I've already done that.
Yeah,
Keep your eyes.
this is the best time and ever to get like cosmetic dental work. So just keep wearing the mask and fix your grill, and in a couple of years, everyone will have beautiful smiles.
Well, keep your eyes and ears open, folks, about what's going on in your local politics, because there's always a whole lot of stuff, whether you're in Denver County or you're anywhere else in the state of Colorado, or around the country, around the world. They always the old quote is all politics are local, and there's always a lot of money that's changing hands between the public and private sector, and we've got to keep our eyes on that. That's our money that they're spending, and so it's okay to ask elected officials to look at things closely and monitor what's being spent. And if you get an elected official that says, that's too small for me to worry about, then you need a new elected official. So once again, we're the Denver Green Party, part of the Colorado Green Party, part of Green Party US. Um, yeah,
G2sa.
we are, and we hope that we wish you much happiness over the next couple of weeks. Mardi Gras coming, y'all, and it's going to be
Oh
fun this
fuck
year.
yeah, yeah, Mr. Spunk himself.
Yeah, and we want you to we want you to stay safe out there, and also go to the denvergreenparty.org, sign up. We'd love to get you on involved. We'd love to talk to you. Of course, donations are always great, and if you feel so inclined. And we do need help looking at the state legislature. We do need help looking at a little deeper at things like the city charter, and who home rule, or that we have, like in the cities, and how far does it go? It doesn't go. Home rule does not go very far in Denver County. Yeah, most of the stuff is controlled in the legislature, so we got to pay attention to that. Obviously, there's a mayoral election coming up this coming fall, I believe, or something, maybe
Yeah.
next. Yeah, so we're going to start talking about people who might be running and who are running, and
Mm,
we don't have a green candidate as of yet. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, but we certainly know that there are going to be a lot of people stepping up to the table who want to service the people with the money in this town, and not the people that are working to keep the lights on. So we'll be talking about that a lot in the future. So for myself, Jason Justice, and of course,
and for me, I'm Desmond Wallington. Thank you
yes,
for having me. This is always fun.
yeah, this is great. I'm
Yeah.
glad we did it again, and we will see you all in a couple weeks.
All right. Smell you later.